Hey, what if I told you the real secret to high ticket sales is choreography? Yes, choreography. I don't care what kind of business you have. You might be selling snow cones off the back of a bicycle in Costa Rica, or you might have a carpet cleaning business in Kentucky. This applies universally to everybody, and there's so much gold trapped in the nuance. And if you want to sell more stuff for higher prices to people, let's talk about it. I went to dinner with a group of friends last year, and the dinner cost $2,000, which is not a typical thing that I do. We're simple people, believe it or not. But it was fascinating just noticing the nuance and the way the ambience is in these high ticket restaurants. And it got me thinking about this choreography, because every single piece of the process is fundamentally different when you go to a high end luxury restaurant, right? And so if you're Mr. Carpet Cleaner from Wichita, the same thing could be true for you. And if you understand what we're going to go through here, it'll be crazy how much money you can make just using your brain, right? When you're in survival mode, you're running a small business. Sometimes we get into Groundhog's Day and we just kind of respond to stimulus and answer the phone and do the same thing as yesterday. And it's so valuable if we can make time to just think about our business, to create space so you can breathe and think about your choreography. So when you go to this restaurant, the lighting is darker. All of the furnishings in it are more expensive. There's antiques everywhere, for example. They have more staff than a typical restaurant. For example, they have a dedicated water person. The guy probably makes $65,000 a year, and he runs around from table to table, with the blanket, the towel over his arm, just pouring bottled water, a glass bottle, the artisanal water. They have the water guy. So that's a choreography difference between that place and McDonald's, right? And there's a price difference too. So your choreography, the level of it, can match and justify higher prices. I think people get messed up because they'll complain, oh, people are cheap. They don't want to buy my stuff. What they're failing to understand, we're going to go through a list of a bunch of things in just a second. What they're failing to understand is that the customer has an expectation of what they think you're supposed to cost, and then the price you gave them did not line up with that expectation. But did you know you can control and set and reframe their expectation through choreography? So we're at this $2,000 dinner, and the waiter comes up and he tells us that the chef was inspired earlier in the week, and he decided to make some beef Wellington, which is a very complicated dish to make. I think it takes like 2 days to do it. And he's describing all the detail of how this guy does this. And the bad news, though, was that there's only like 10 of them. There's only 10 available. And he's like, if you're interested in the Wellington, sir, I'd highly encourage you to secure the Wellington. That's what he told me. He used the phrase secure the Wellington. Isn't that weird? But it's part of the choreography. Of course, 2 people in our group secured the Wellington, right? Because they were sold. The price didn't matter. The price wasn't even discussed, right? And even with a little carpet cleaning business or any kind of snow cone business, the same principles apply to you. Okay, so with that being said, let's start off with lesson number 1. Who people think the messenger is more important than the message itself. I'm going to say that again slower. Who people think the messenger is more important than the message itself. And I can prove it to you. Go on Twitter and find Gary V and scroll down until you see him tweet something that's like we've heard 1,000 times. For example, Gary V could tweet never give up and it gets 100,000 shares, right? And then you could tweet never give up and it gets 2 likes, and one of them's your mom and the other one's you, right? So the message itself doesn't have that much value all by itself, believe it or not. It's the frame of who they think the message is coming from. It's such a big deal. So if you answer your phone in a noticeably better, more clever, warmer, better tonality and pacing and emphasis, right? And you answer it in 1 ring instead of 3, that is one little tiny micro piece of your choreography. And so if they call 3 companies and you're the one that wins, you win. You have better choreography. You've anchored them, right? And then the process of what questions you ask them and how you build rapport, that whole little piece should be thought through to maximize your choreography. And then depending on what kind of business you have, maybe you give them a price or give them an estimate or there's a sales process. Every single little touch point is an opportunity for choreography. And what's happening in their head, the customer's head, is they're starting to establish a baseline of who they think the messenger is. They're starting to think who you are. And, a best case scenario for small local business is that you want your customers to be nervous to actually finally get the price and then be pleasantly surprised that you're only $500 more than the other people, right? So imagine you do the McDonald's thing and it's a $500 price, right? But then they're coming to your secure the Wellington style, super clever, choreographed, way better process, and then you're $1,000, right? You've created so much separation by thinking like this that it's way easier to sell the high ticket stuff. In fact, a lot of people will be nervous to pay the other guy. They're like, instead of saying, why are you so expensive? Which is what they do when they think you're the same as the McDonald's example. Instead of that, they say, why is that guy so cheap? That makes me nervous. That makes me uncomfortable. And this little shift can happen like quick. It's just paying attention to the nuance and the details. Another secret to high ticket selling is to lead with value. If you have a service company and you're looking at your choreography, how can you over deliver in little itty bitty ways lots of times? How do you do unexpected things that are in the customer's benefit? For example, if you are in people's homes every day, everyone should be getting a free bonus they didn't expect, and it should feel like they're the only person ever that got the free bonus that they didn't expect. And if you do this, it matters, like a lot. You'll get more referrals, you'll get more reviews, upselling's easier, it's easier to book them for a second appointment. You're wowing and delighting these people, right? And we want to think of, during the sales appointment, how do we over deliver and wow and delight? I'll give you an example of how to do that too. When you are quoting all of your stuff, take a minute to scratch off all the stuff that they don't need. Give them prices for stuff they don't need, and then tell them, you know what, after, really examining everything, honestly, you don't need this one. You don't need this one, because it builds trust. It's better choreography, right? And it's elevating who they think the messenger is. If you look at people like Alex Hormozi, who's just blown up on the internet, people like to talk how Alex Hormozi made $17 million in profit his first full year with gym launch. And he did that. But what they fail to understand is that his program that he sold actually was amazing. Like, it irrefutably worked. He had mountains and stacks of irrefutable proof of, I made this guy 300 grand, that guy 500 grand, this guy made 1.1, this guy made 200 grand. And he had person after person after person that had a local gym, bought his gym launch thing for $40,000 and absolutely transformed their business quickly. And so when you're trying to just get money or do the next estimate, you're missing the secret to getting high ticket, high margin business systems in place, because you're chasing the money. Lead with value. Learn how to wow and delight. The price becomes an afterthought when people know, like, and trust you. And when you're just like over delivering on these micro ways all the way to the end, then when you give them the price, it's way easier. Russell Brunson too, in the early days of ClickFunnels, he would go around for free to people with big audiences and build them a funnel for free. Why would he do that, right? Because he needed to establish proof of his expertise. He wanted to get someone a huge result. He was making people millions a month for free so he could have the story of how he did that thing. And if you have a local business, this type of stuff still applies to you. When you're wrapping up a job, maybe the script is, Mrs. Jones, I got about 20 minutes extra, and we've just really enjoyed you. You've been really warm to us. I'm just going to clean your sidewalk for free while we're here. I'm going to have Larry do that. Is that okay with you? Yeah. Just don't tell my boss, right? That moment, when that happens, there's so many things happening in someone's brain, and it's choreography, but you're leading with value, just like Russell led with value. And there's opportunities everywhere. A couple other tips as we get ready to wrap this up is unexpected personalization. Local businesses don't do a very good job of taking notes about their customers. What's their dog's name? Remember how that lady said to close the back gate so Fluffy doesn't get out? Is that documented so that the next time you definitely know that? Because she likes Fluffy more than you. I have news for you. But really, more than that, when you're engaging with your customer and you're like, hey, Mrs. Jones, great to hear from you. Hey, just so you know, I'm going to get you booked up, and we're going to make sure to secure that back gate. We don't want Fluffy getting out. The minute that those words come out of your mouth, you blow people's brain apart, because no one does it, even though it's really easy and it costs nothing. Isn't that weird? Success is not complicated, but that doesn't mean it's easy. This stuff is not hard to do, but it might be hard to actually do it, not because you're confused by it, because we're lazy sometimes. Don't do that. Another thing is unexpected value, which I think we covered. And then last but not least is frame control. So this whole video really is about, if you want to make more money, it's not just about charging higher prices. And it's not just about being frustrated that no one will buy your expensive stuff. It's about you controlling the frame of who they think you are. And who they think you are is dependent on the value they've already received from you and the choreography and the process of doing business with you. It does not require perfection. We make mistakes all the time. It's okay to mess up, but when everything else is good and you're exceeding expectations, you get more forgiveness from people, you get more referrals from people, and you get more high-ticket sales. Dan Kennedy teaches a lot about frame control. And if you know Dan Kennedy, world famous, legendary copywriter and just kind of marketing guru, he's known as grumpy. He's like this grumpy old guy, right? He wants people to know, if you want to hire Dan directly, it costs a lot of money and you're going to do it his way. And he's probably going to be grumpy, but you'll probably make more money than you ever have in your life, right? And it's a very curated frame. And I watched a training from him one time, like a kind of a hidden secret one. And all of that's intentional. His character is choreography. And what he's doing, which is so interesting, is he's putting out to the world, I'm the best in the business and you're going to make a fortune if I allow you to hire me. Okay, that's a frame. And we're going to do it my way, and that's non-negotiable. That's a frame. But the reality is, when you actually talk to his clients, people that did pay him the big money, he's the most like warm, nice guy, right? And he's doing all this on purpose to demand higher prices. So I don't want to confuse you or have you overthink that, but what is the frame you're creating? What vibe does your business put off? This goes to your website, the way that people talk about you on Google, the photos you use, the videos you use. Are they professional? Is it like kind of right? If you just look like Chuck in a truck, you're setting a Chuck in a truck frame and they're going to be shocked that you're $500 more than the other guy. If we can control a better frame through better process and wowing and delighting, they will be scared to hire Chuck in the truck and they're going to give you all their money, which is super cool. Okay, I think that's it. Hey, if you like these videos, will you comment on them and click stuff and share stuff? That would be awesome. I'd love to hear your story. I want you to win. This channel is dedicated to small business owners who love God, family, country, and capitalism. And that's why I keep making these things. Do you like them? Should I keep going? Let me know in the comments. See you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, click the video on the left to watch the previous upload. And if you want one of my personal favorites, click the video on the right. And of course, don't forget to hit the middle to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for being on this journey with me.